Okay, so I got caught by my own enthusiasm and haste. A very good example of why we should never be, why you should never try to rush through these things, but go deliberately, move forward deliberately. So I'm still getting this error, and what is the error I'm getting? It says reference error, data is not defined. Here we are, scripts.js 19. I did do that copying and pasting thing, and it looks like it's caused problems. Ah, yes, because I renamed this data table, but then I didn't rename any of these to be data table. So let's take a look at this. Right? See if we fare better this time. My gosh, I just can't seem to get this right. Now I see, okay, my data table is not defined. So scripts.js line 34. Oops, got lost in my documentation here. Ah, yes. So instead I just called it data table. Let's try this one more time, or more times than that if we have to. Aha, much, much better. Okay, so we can see that this is pretty great. We can actually look at this as a as a way to dynamically pull data. But I want to point out that we're going to look at another couple of elements here. So one of the other advantages that we have when we use the Google Fusions table this way is that let's go back to our query URL here. Okay, so we use this select statement and select asterisk, select everything. But what if we wanted to select not everything? The great thing about this is that I can actually, there's another set of parameters I can add to the end of this, which is a where clause. So basically, this should hopefully seem pretty readable, right? Select everything from this table. Done, right? Pretty clear. But I could also say where. So I could say where something is true. So for example, I could say something, perhaps, let's see how this works, where date is greater than 1980, 01, 01. Actually, I guess it's going to be 1979. And see what that yields. In fact, I'm going to bet actually that it's not in quotation marks, but let's find out. Nope, doesn't like it. Let's see. Let's look at the, aha, okay, here we go. So this is going to tell us thing, filter condition, spatial condition, where, okay. Let's see how we can get the date to work. So what we want to do is we want to say basically where, the date is after, December 1979, which of course would mean that it is actually going to be anywhere starting in 1980. Nope. Parse error. Okay. Now obviously you can see I'm just experimenting around here. Aha! Got it. I had a feeling it would be something like that. So look what I was just able to do. I actually have data in my table that goes all the way back to 1948, but I can do something like say, hey, listen, give me only everything that comes after December 1979, or if I wanted to be a little bit more sort of natural about it, I could say that is greater than or equal to January 1980. And I can see right away that this comes back. So if I make this my query in my JavaScript instead, then I'm actually showing the exact same data set. If I save that and reload the page here, wherever it is. Come on, guys. Uh-oh, problem. What happened here? Let's see. Ah, ran into a little issue here. I want to say date equals. So what's happened here is what we call URL encoding. URL encoding is basically means that there are certain characters like quotation marks, spaces. It's one of the reasons why we don't like to have spaces in column names. and single quotations that the browser, when you put them in, we actually put them into the URL, they get converted to different characters, and that's what happened here. So it was a good way for us to test this query. We want to be careful that we check for that when we sort of pull those things out. And of course, I know that it didn't happen because I never got to my data rendering part. So hopefully, there we go. Oops, now what happened? Oops, I just got the one. Oh, haha. Because what did I say? I said where date equals 1980, and what I meant was greater than or equal to, right? So you guys can see this is like this is a little tweaking process, and that's okay. You're not going to get everything right off the bat. That would be interesting, would it? Still having problems here, huh? Let's see. I thought this made sense. Where date. Let's look back at my URL. Let's look back at the web example that I used. So it does look like greater than or equal to, in quotes, do and key. That shouldn't fix it, but it might. Ah, it did. Why did it do that? Oh, I know why it did it. Aha! See, here we are. So, why did that change things? Let's look back at this again. I had an equal sign, okay? Now, an equal sign has significance in one of these URLs, right? You see this ampersand key equals. When I had this equal sign in here, what it was saying is, oh, you have another parameter here. So remember, we actually have only two parameters here. We have the SQL parameter has this equal sign, and it's this whole thing, even though it's not wrapped in anything. We might expect for it to be wrapped in something. In fact, I think it's kind of surprising that it isn't, just as a matter of convention. Sorry, I realize this is difficult to read. But so I have this SQL query, and then I have my key, and I see ampersand, and ampersand is the character that we use to separate parameters. So we have ampersand key equals. When I have this equal sign in here, it's saying, oh, okay, so I guess this is a different parameter. You have this greater than sign is actually going to be your parameter here, or your key name, and then it's going to equal 1980. So this is where I could URL encode this. I am going to take what we sometimes call the quick and dirty way out. I'm going to say greater than 1979. I'm going to save that, and come on. Right, okay, 1980 worked, I believe. Yes, now I'm going to change it to 1979. Save that. Hopefully there isn't some strange thing about 1979. There we go. All right, so now we see our data points here that we are going through. So hopefully you've seen this as an example of the way that we can actually use a different method for bringing data into our Google visualization. We can then actually do sub-selections of that data. So this is going to be really valuable for those times when you want to sort of have a centralized data set that you maintain, but you can still excise small parts of it to make the point about a particular story. So we've sort of talked about choosing data ranges in such a way that accurately tells a story or highlights the part of the story that's most significant for what we're addressing. And you can see how just by changing those dates, right, just changing the date in that URL, you could generate another chart based off the same data set that will update live anytime you change a number. And that again is one of the really nice things. So you want to be a little careful with the Google Fusion tables to make sure that you note to yourself and your colleagues what one of them are, which one of them are live, i.e. which one of them are publishing live to the web. Because if I were to come in here and change a data value, I mean, I can just do a quick example here. I could just say, so that we can see it stand out, right? I can change this to 10.0. And if I come back to my chart, Oh wait, well, sorry, I cut off my chart a little early there. If I remove my where clause here, so that I'm going to pull in every data point, what I'll see, I should see, is at the very first data point is going to be 10. And there you go. Right? So in one sense, it's actually really great because it lets us have live updated data. If we need to edit something, add something, it happens very quickly. At the same time, if somebody goes in and starts messing with a fusion table that is actually feeding live charts on the web, we could have some problems. So I actually strongly suggest that, for example, in the names of the files, like once this is published, I think you might want to change this to say something like live, right? So that it is unequivocally indicated who this is. And now this is really interesting too. We see allow downloads. This is some additional metadata that we can put on the table. We can put the name and of course who we are on this as well. So we're going to play around with this a little bit. We may get into annotations in class. We'll kind of see how it goes. But hopefully you guys will, certainly if you want to play around with this before you get to class on Tuesday, you should absolutely feel free. All right, I will see you guys in a couple days.